Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be using this cute stamp set for a pretty pink posh, and I'll do some masking as well. So I'm going to be creating a square card today. So I have my cardstock here cut to 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I will trim that down eventually, but for now this is the size I'm working with. So I have this heart die that I'm working with. This is one of the dies from the Nested Hearts die set from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to be masking with that heart, and so I just wanted to have that kind of in the works here so I could envision where my stamping would be. So I've stamped the little girl and also the balloon using some black ink. I'm going to be doing some watercoloring with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, so I used VersaFine Onyx black ink for that. I also stamped some additional versions of those images onto masking paper so that I could cut out the images and mask off those areas to protect them. So here I am creating another mask using some masking paper, and I've cut that paper to 4 1/4, so it's the exact same size as the piece I'm working with. And then I die cut that heart out of the center. And I'll place this mask over my project. There's a little bit of a gap at the very bottom, so I'll just use some post-it tape to mask off the rest of that area. So I'm going to be doing some ink blending on this, and I'm starting out with the color Seedless Preserves. So the paper I used for the stamping area is actually Bristol Smooth paper from Strathmore. And Bristol Smooth has a kind of a coating on the top of it. So when you blend on top, it just glides over and it's really super easy to blend. But also I've noticed that because of that coating, it doesn't absorb the ink as much. So you can tell as it blends onto that masking paper, it really soaks in the ink, and then the color kind of fades out once it comes into the center of that heart, because that is where the Bristol paper is. So it's just an interesting fact that I've just realized as I've been doing some blending is how different papers absorb the ink. And they absorb the ink in different ways. And I really love blending on Bristol paper because even if you kind of accidentally stamp down with your foam tool, you still have the opportunity to kind of blend that out. So the other colors I used were Chipped Sapphire, Peacock Feathers, and Tumbled Glass. So I'm going to peel back all this masking, and you can see the nice clean edge of that heart mask. And I just love how it looks like the heart is behind the little girl and her balloon. I think it's really fun. So I peeled off the heart mask, and then I'm also going to peel off the little heart balloon. And you'll notice that I stamped that heart balloon a little higher up. So I'm going to take a black pen and just extend that down until it meets her hand. And I'm using a Pilot envelope addressing pen. It is waterproof and perfect for adding any additional details or fixing any lines on an image you're going to be watercoloring. So I'm using some Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. That's a tongue twister. And also a water brush. And I'm doing really, really simple coloring today. I'm not doing anything super intricate, but I did want to let you guys know that I thought about the colors I would be using while I was doing the blending. I knew I wanted to have quite a bit of blue on this card. I'm making this for a specific person who loves blue, and so I thought it'd be really fun to have blue on the heart and then also have the little girl wearing quite a bit of blue as well. So I'm adding her hair color in, and I wanted her hair color to be brunette, kind of like me, since this is sort of like a card I'm sending to a friend and I'm holding the balloon. I thought that was kind of cute. And then I'm going to color her sweater pink and then bring in a little bit of purple to darken it up and add a little more interest into that color. And then to further that sweater and make it look even more adorable, I'm going to bring in a white gel pen and add some little polka dots on her sweater. So I'm just adding some random dots, and it just adds a little bit of interest since the rest of this card is quite plain. I added some shadow underneath her so that it gave her a little bit of ground to stand on. And now I'm going to work on the greeting. So I'm prepping my area with the powder tool, and I tested it to make sure it was okay to move on, since that distress ink does take a long time to dry, and it turned out to be just fine. So I'm using my MISTI tool once again, and I'm positioning the grading over the top of my masked and colored piece, and I'll pick up that stamp, and then I'm going to use some Versamark ink to stamp this, and then I'll be doing some heat embossing. So I'm once again using my powder tool just to be safe, and I'll add some Versamark ink over to my grading stamp, and then I'll swing the door of the MISTI over and stamp down onto that heart area. So I'm using some Hero Arts white embossing powder, and I'll sprinkle that on, and then I'll tap it with my finger to get off the rest of the excess. I'm using a heat tool to heat and melt that embossing powder until it's smooth. And then I ended up trimming this down to about 4 by 4. I wanted my finished card to be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I wanted to have this piece a little bit smaller than the card front. So I'm using some Neenah Solar White 110 pound cardstock, and I scored that at 4 1/4 to create a square card. And then I put some foam tape on the back of this piece and placed it down onto the folded card. To finish off the images and to give a little more interest, I'm going to add some Ranger Glossy accents right over this balloon. It's going to give the balloon a nice glossy finish, especially after it dries. It has a nice gloss to it and a little bit of shine. And that will finish the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a really fun and simple and easy card to make. I think I could recreate this over and over again for multiple occasions. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.